Dylan, how are you getting on?
I'm doing great. Training's going well, so hopefully get a fight yet soon.
Yeah, yeah. You and me actually have something in common, Dylan. Am I right in saying you're from Tyrone?
I am.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my dad
Yeah,
actually is from Tyrone. He was born there and he lived there till he was about 10 or 11. So, and then he emigrated into Drogheda. So, yeah, my roots are from Tyrone, in Dungannon.
and Gannon's not too far away from me. Probably 20-minute drive. Then's where it was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Dylan, for people that don't really know about you, what was your background in terms of amateur before you just turned over?
Well, I was boxing from I was about 8 years old, and I basically won everything there was to win coming through the amateur scene of not in All Ireland, and moved to Belfast when I was 18. Started boxing out of Clonard, which is where I'm still boxing out of. And won obviously the Antrim seniors, Ulster seniors there, the last Ulster seniors that were allowed to go ahead. I won them, and and then we just made the decision that it was probably about time to turn over.
Mm. What was it that made you want to turn over?
Um, just wasn't like having the same effect that amateur boxing. I wasn't as motivated for it anymore. It was just I don't know. I just felt like it was either go pro or not do it at all anymore. Um, so we were got in contact with Peter about it, and he said about he got his professional license and stuff, so that we'd be able to train there and turn over pro.
Mm, mm. And it was the fact that you going to Belfast, did it have a big impact because it's such a massive boxing city? Was that kind of the pull as well, wanting to turn over pro?
Yeah, well, as I've seen, like a lot of my mates have turned over or pro, like the likes of Connor Quinn, he turned pro, and he went to Australia. But it was seeing people that I had either fought against or trained with, they were pro, and it gave us that incentive to push on and maybe give it a go.
Hmm. Hmm. In terms of uh, going with Boxing Ireland promotions, well, why did you choose Dennis and their team?
Uh, Obviously, boxing Ireland doing wonderful things with professional boxing now. If you look at what everything they've done for like the owner Neil and Dominic Donegan, both them guys came out of the Ulster seniors as well. Dominic won them. Now he's looking to go 5-0. So they're moving people along at a good pace, and they're getting on the right fights at the right times. So we had Dennis down to watch a spar with O'Neill, and he said, yeah, they'd be interested. So we decided yeah, to go with them. They were the best fit for us.
Hmm. What weight class would you be looking to campaign at then?
I'd be looking to be middleweight. At the minute, I'm sitting a bit above that, but that's normal for not having a fight yet, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. You're a big advocate, if I'm right, of you're very much into fitness and training and whatnot. You're a PT yourself. Like, is that something that's kind of developed from boxing, or was it just something you were always interested in?
Um, I was, all my life I've been active, so I've been playing like football from a child. I've been boxing from when I was a child, and then eventually one of my boxing coaches actually he was doing the PT, and he's like, if you want to give that a go, I can help you get involved. So I've done my courses, and then he helped me get involved in the PTing. But fitness has always been a part of my life, whether it be through football, boxing, or just going to the gym.
Hmm. Hmm. And a lot of people that might not know this, but you're type one diabetic, which, if I'm right, is something that you're actually born with. It's not something that that manifests from diet or anything like that. So you actually always had this. How has that been for you, especially with someone who trains quite a lot and is doing very glycolytic workouts? How has that been for you during your life, being so active?
What happened actually was I actually only found out when I was 19, believe it or not. They told
Really?
me
Wow.
yeah, they told me I was type 2 diabetic, and then I ended up having to go in to get my appendix out, and the diabetic specialist came in, like, you're not type 2, it's not possible for you to be type 2, give me all the reasons. He's like, this, you're definitely type 1, so from when I was 19, started on the insulin and stuff, and affected in me training wise, it hasn't actually had that much of an effect, you know. All it means is that I've had to watch her eat a bit more than normal, but with boxing and training, you have to do that anyway. So it was just really regulating the carbs and the sugar that you take in. And other than that, there's actually been little to no effect on me, and my performance has been the same.
Yeah. That's crazy that you didn't know till you're 19. Like, was there any signs of growing up at all? Like, did you ever feel like did you ever have cases where you might have had fainted or anything like that, or like anything at all?
No, the only indication that I actually ever had when I was growing up was the initial amateur boxing medical. Obviously, you do your urine test, and after that, the doctor's like, "Oh, I thought you were diabetic." Like looking at that, but it doesn't seem like you are. Like, okay, so we just never really paid attention to it. And
Yeah.
then and going to the doctors and also doing the urine test and stuff that they order you to do. There's quite a lot of glucose in your urine, so we want to get a couple of tests done, make sure you're not diabetic. Turns out I actually was diabetic.
So that's funny. So if it wasn't for boxing, you probably would have never known.
I wouldn't have had a clue until something bad could have happened.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely crazy. Like because um, like for instance, my best friend, his dad and his sister are type one diabetic. They've had their whole life, but you know they've had cases where maybe they've gone on a night of drinking and the next day they you know they've gone to the shop and fainted, which is very normal for them. Like, but
Yeah,
like you wouldn't have known what that was. That you could have had a night out or something like that and trying to help yourself or had a binge and you could have been in public and collapsed and you wouldn't have known what that was. So that's
yeah,
crazy that boxing would have uncovered that for you.
yeah. And no one actually else would have known either because I didn't even know. So none of my
Yeah.
mates would have been like, "What's going on?" If an ambulance came, wouldn't have been able to say, "Oh yeah, he's type one diabetic." They would have just been like, "What's wrong with him? We don't know."
Hmm.
So it's one of those things that boxing did discover for me, and probably has helped my lifestyle in the terms that
Hmm.
um if something did happen, people would be like, "This is why."
Yeah, yeah. Um, what would be the symptoms of someone who is diabetic but maybe doesn't know about it?
Well, they might have, for me, this wasn't something because I drink a lot of water, but it's having to go to the bathroom quite a lot, like more than the normal person. Like you go to the bathroom 10 minutes later, you're like, all right, bathroom again,
Hmm.
um, and then it would just be profuse sweating is one of the worst ones. Once that starts, you know something's wrong. Even if you're in a freezing cold environment, you're just sweating and it's you've no idea what's going on.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, what would you say to people who have maybe those symptoms? What would you advise them to do if that is the case? If they think that might be something that they have.
Well, personally, I have told people before that have shown symptoms is make sure you go to your doctor, tell them you're having these symptoms, and could get a blood glucose test done. And straight away they'll be able to tell if there's any issues.
Hmm.
And if there is, you always bet yes, it's something that you have to live with, but you always better find it before a serious complication happens, and then you'll wish that you went and got looked at.
Mm-hmm. So back to boxing, Dylan, very briefly, but is there anything? Do you have a certain objective in the sport at the moment? Some people turn over; they want to be an Irish champion. They want to uh, be world ranked at different things. What would be your objective? Would you say in turning over?
The objective is turn over. I think if anyone said they didn't want to win a world title, they'd be lying.
Mm.
Obviously there's a long way to go before we reach anywhere near that stage. So short term goals are basically get my first 2 3 fights out of the way, assess where we're going, try and get that Irish title as you mentioned, and then work out the steps there to where we can progress further.
Mm-hmm. Is there anyone on your radar at all? Because you're middleweight, so I can imagine there's quite a few people that are in around that weight. I know it's early days yet, but is there anyone that you would have your eye on at all?
Um, as of the middleweights, I haven't really had a massive look around. Like I know that there's a lot of middleweights out there that are obviously steps and levels above me that I'll probably not see until maybe we've reached higher levels, but there is a lot of good middleweights in Ireland.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Yeah, well, that's interesting. Has there been any news with you in terms of your next fight? Like, have Boxing Ireland kind of pencil in the date? Would it be the date that's going to be in the Devonish when everything opens back up? Would that probably be your debut?
We're hoping that after the show in Luxembourg that they're going to release the date for a show that would be in Belfast, and from there we'll hopefully be on that, get the tickets sold, and get the fight made.
Yeah, no, very interesting. Yeah, yeah. So, I think we've covered most of everything, Dylan. But that was actually really interesting, especially with your story of diabetes. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. But yeah, thanks very much for your time, Dylan. And yeah, I hopefully the next time I see you, I'll be able to interview you after a fight.
I hope so. Okay, thanks very much, Ian.
Yeah, thanks very much, Dylan. Yeah, thank you.
All right.